Hello everyone. So topic for today's session will be as follows. We will first discuss the file system followed by database files. Then we will see the physical files and the concept of DDS. Then types of physical files, and finally we will do some hands-on on the topic covered. So let's get started with our first topic, that is file system. Sorry. See, in AS400 we basically have three types of files. First one is database files. This is the file that we're gonna discuss in details in today's lecture. Apart from this database files, we have two other types of files, that is the display file and the printer files. See, we do have some other types of files which we will discuss in this series, but as of now just note these as the major file types. Let's see these files in brief. So in database files we deal with data that are stored in tables in the form of columns and rows. The column are the vertical part of tables and they represents fields. Rows on the other hand are horizontal portion of table and represent individual records. In display file, the data rather than being stored are actually displayed on the display station or screen using a utility which we call SDA or Screen Design Aid. Just note that we also call this display file as workstation files. We will see this in detail later. The spindle files are actually the spool files under AS400 and used for generating reports. They use the utility report layout utility, abbreviated in short as RLU. We will see each of these files types in much detail as a part of this course series. However, today's lecture will be reserved for database files. So database files can be divided into two types. One is a physical file and then the second one is logical files. Physical file is an entity which stores the actual data. So it contains the description of how the data is to be presented to or received from a program. Just note that the PF, that is physical files, can contain only one record format and one or more members. Logical files, however, are the logical division of physical memory and do not contain the actual data. Instead, they are the views or representation of one or more physical files. They can contain more than one record format, in fact up to a maximum of 32. Just note that if a logical file is having more than one record format, then it is termed as multi-format logical file. Now before we proceed further, you need to understand a very important concept that we call DDS, that is data description specification. So what is this DDS? DDS can be assumed to be a small language which is used to define the source code of physical files or database files. Let's understand the source code structure of DDS used for defining database files. So to understand the DDS for database files, I have subdivided the source code of database file into vertical columns and horizontal rows. A DDS can thus be assumed to have two level of breakdown or subdivisions. The first one is column level breakdown or column level entries, and the second one is row level breakdown or entries. Let's see column level breakdown or entries of DDS, wherein we can have up to 8 entries. So just to replicate the column level, I have divided it into 8 rows. So these are the 8 entries that are possible in at the column level. First one is the name type. Second entry is name. Third is REF or reference. Fourth entry is length. Then we have data type as the fifth entry, decimal position as the sixth entry, use as seventh entry, and finally eighth and the last entry is called function. Now let's see the possible values in these entries. Talking of first the name type, here we can have 3 possible values. First one is blank, which represents a field name. Then we can have name type as R, in which case it will represent a record format, and a value K that represents key field. So these are the 3 possible values inside the first entry, name type. The second entry, that is the name, contains a string having a maximum length of up to 10 digits. Its identity actually depends on the value that we had entered within the first entry, that is name type. So this entry is identified as filled if the name type is blank, or record format if the name type is R, and this field will be treated as key field if the name type is K. So depending on the value that we had entered in this name type entry, this will be treated respectively as field or record format or key field. Now the third entry, that is reference, can have either blank or R. We will discuss this later. This will in fact be clear when we do our hands-on. Fourth entry, that is length, represents the length of the field name. Data type represents the type of field the field contains. The major data types are P for pack data, S for zone data, A for alphanumeric, Z for timestamp data, T for time data, L for date data. So we do have other data types available for this entry, but these are the major ones that we will use frequently. while dealing with database files. Now the sixth entry is decimal position and is applicable for only numerical fields. For character fields, just leave this entry blank. The next entry is something which we call huge. This can have either blank or B and represents that the field is going to be both input and output capable. And the last, that is the eighth entry, is function, wherein we will put on the keywords. We will see these once we do our hands-on part, so not to worry for the time being. So basically we have covered the column level entries of DDS, wherein we can have up to 8 entries. So just note that these 8 entries will be common for both the database files, that whether it's a logical file or a physical file, these 8 entries will be common for both. Now let's proceed to row level breakdown, or also called the level of entries of a file. That is, basically we can call this row level breakdown of DDS as the level of entries of a file. Depending on the type of database files, we can have 4 or more than 4 level of entries. So basically this 4 level of entries is applicable to physical files, and if we have logical file, then we'll have more than 4 level of entries. So first let's talk of this physical file. As discussed, in physical files we can have 4 level of entries, and what are those? The first entry is the file level entry. Then we have record format level entry as the second level entry. The third level of entry is field level, and the fourth and the last one is key field level entry. So these are the level of entries for physical files: file level, record format level, field level, and key field level. For logical files, we can have some additional entries which we will discuss while discussing the logical file topics in our next lecture. So let's concentrate on physical file within this lecture. Okay, note that out of this 4 level of entries, the first and the last one, that is file level entries and the key field level entries, are optional. However, this record format level or the field level entries will be mandatory one. Now let's see some of the major keywords used in file level entries. Okay, but before, note that the entries which we use over this logical file and physical files will be common for most of the cases. However, there are few keywords which can only be used with physical files, or some which can only be used with logical files. So the keywords, whether it is applicable to a physical file or logical file or both, that is something which we will discuss while we are doing our hands-on, and I will mention simultaneously when we deal with those keywords. So first one is unique. Then we have something called uh, LIFO, last in first out, FIFO, first in first out, FCFO, which is first change first out. Basically note that the three keywords, that is LIFO, FIFO and FCFO, are actually applicable to duplicate records. And one more commonly used keyword is REF, that is reference keyword. So these are some of the important file level keywords that we will frequently use with physical files. Out of these 5 keywords, the first 4 can be used for both physical files and logical files. The last one, that is REF, that is reference, can only be used with physical files. Now let's sum up the important records label entries. So some of the important record level entries are format and the text. The are the two very common keywords that we will frequently use under the record format label. Some major field level entries are alias, column heading, that is COLSDG, text, and reference field, that is REF-FLD. Just note that the this field level entry, the text can be used for both the record level as well as field level entries. For keyword level entry, we can use descent. Just note that the default is the ascent, which means that the order of retrieval will be in ascending order by default, or if you want to reverse, that is if you want in descent, then just use the keyword descent. Okay, so now that we have discussed the important keywords at the different level of entries, let's discuss each of these in somewhat more details. So starting with the first keyword, that is unique. See, with this file level keyword, duplicate records are not allowed within the database files. Note that if you mention this keyword in your database files, then it is mandatory to mention keywords in it, otherwise you will get compile time error. So make sure that you're using the key field entries while using this unique keyword. So now let's see the syntax for this unique keyword. The syntax for this will be unique, and it has optional parameters. We can give two parameters here. So first one is star inc null, which is include null, and then we have exclude null, that is exe null. So these parameters actually determine whether the null values are to be considered as duplicate value or not. By default, if you are not giving any parameters, the system will assume this inc null as default value, which means it will understand that the null value are to be assumed as duplicate value. If you don't want your null values to be treated as duplicate values, then just mention this parameter exe null. Now see, in the case when the file has duplicate records, retrieval order for these duplicate records can be managed by three keywords, that is LIFO, FIFO and FCFO. So basically, if you are not using this unique keyword, then your database file can have duplicate records, and the retrieval order of those duplicate records can be managed by using these three keywords, that is LIFO, FIFO and FCFO. So let's see the keyword, first keyword, that is LIFO, last in first out. So what does this mean? The name already dictates its meaning. With this keyword, the last in record will be retrieved first. With FIFO, that is first in first out keyword, the first in keyword will be retrieved first. And for FCFO, that is first change first out keyword, the first changed record will be retrieved first. Note that if now the next level of entry is next file level entry is ref. With this we can retrieve the field based on some other referential file that we will see the later as we do our hands-on. Now let's see some of the record level keywords. First is the format. Note that this with this format we can have the we can use this field definition of previously defined record format. Now coming to syntax, the syntax for this record level entry keyword format is library followed by file name. Just note that this library portion is optional, so if you are not giving library, then the file name will be searched out in the library list. Then we have text. This is used just for documentation purpose. Thus, with this keyword, we can supply a text description or comments for the record format or field used for program documentation. Just note that this keyword, that is text, can be used at both the record level as well as field level. For syntax will be text and then description in the as a parameter. Now coming to field level entries, you use first one is alias. You use this field level keyword to specify an alternative name for a field. When the program is compiled, the alternative name is just brought into the system. The next field level keyword is column heading. Through this we can specify column heading used as a label for this field by text management, query utility, DFU and SDA, that is screen design aid. Syntax for this column heading is we give a line column heading, then line 1, line 2 and line 3. See, basically a maximum of 3 lines of 20 characters each is allowed here. Each line of the column heading must be enclosed in single quotation marks. Use one or more blanks to separate the first column heading line from the second and second from the third. So hope this syntax column heading is clear. Okay, now coming to next field level entries, we have reference field. During defining a field, you can refer another existing field which is defined in some other files. Next is the key field level keyword. Here we can use the keyword descent. Note that default is the ascent. So next topic is the types of physical files. So depending on whether a physical file has one or more than one members, we can have single member physical file or a multi-member physical files. Okay, so that's all for the today's lecture. In the next lecture, we will do the hands-on for the theoretical topic that we covered today. And all these topics will be very much clear after we do hands-on. So just go through this video again if you didn't understand any of the topic covered. So that's it. Okay, that's all for the today. Thank you. Bye bye and happy learning.